Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4 Spotlight. Today's Spotlight is on the Illinois Secure Choice, a retirement savings program. And it's a program that's been phased in over several years, and we're headed towards, I think, one of the final phase-ins coming up. And to take a look at the Illinois Secure Choice program, we've got Liz Bakker on my far right, Jake Mudde on my immediate right, who are both financial advisors with Edward Jones in Palos Heights and Harlem Avenue. And they're going to help us take a look at this investment program. What does it mean? Who does it apply to? How do they access it? Before we dive into that, can you give us a little bit about your background as financial advisors at Edward Jones, how long you've been there, and what you do?
Yeah, great. Really appreciate you having us, Dave. Excited to be here this morning. So I'm Jake Mudde with Edward Jones. Our office is right there on Harlem Avenue, and I've been with the firm since 2016. Had an office in Tinley Park prior to coming back home to Palos Heights here, and work with businesses and families in the area and the greater Chicagoland area, of course.
Okay.
And then I'm Liz Bakker, also a financial advisor. I joined my brother in Palos a couple of years ago.
Or I was going to say, we should acknowledge it, right? It is a family business. Your
Yes.
dad started it, I believe, the one in Palos.
Correct.
And,
Yes.
and your dad is still involved in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, good. I
For
love
sure.
the family business.
Yes.
All right, so let's take a look specifically at, what is the Illinois Secure Choice Retirement Savings Program? Can you give us a kind of a nuts and bolts what that means?
Yeah, Dave, we were excited to get on the program today just because the program itself has a deadline coming up. But to tell you a little bit about what it is, the Illinois Secure Choice is a state-mandated retirement savings program, and it's intended to be an avenue for individuals to save for retirement. So it's meant for the private sector, for folks that don't already have a plan through their employer. This gives them an avenue to save for the future in a tax-sensitive manner.
So I kind of want to pick up on two things you mentioned, like a deadline coming up and how that applies, how that goes in effect, and then specifically this new deadline, who it includes, because I think the information you sent, like this thing went into effect in 2018, actually, right? Or the first group. Can you kind of break down the groups that were kind of rolled into this program and which group it applies to now?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. So this is not new legislation. It's been rolling out over the last number of years. So the initial deadline was November of 2018, and it was 500 or more employees that was the criteria for the size of business.
A big company.
Yeah.
Talking about a really big company at that point.
Large companies, and to be quite honest, if you're that size of a company, most often you already have a 401k to be kind of relevant in your respective industry. So it was kind of a softer rollout, but as time progressed, the rollout started affecting smaller and smaller businesses to the point where right now, if you have 5 or more employees with your business, you are impacted by the upcoming November 1st deadline of this year. So if you have 5 or more employees, you need to be either getting your own retirement plan or participating in this Secure Choice program.
Okay.
This latest rollout is for 5 to 15. So as of last November, anybody with 15 or above should have a plan in place, or
Okay.
they have gotten a letter informing them of some fines. And then this November 1 deadline is the 5 to 15.
Let's say, so if a business with 5 to 15, I mean, we are talking small business now, and this is going to bring in a lot of other businesses, I would imagine. I mean, a lot of businesses probably function in this window.
Yeah.
The kind of mom and pop places you see, like on Harlem or on, on
Right.
27th or
Sure,
other
sure.
towns or cities in the community or in the Chicagoland area. So can you kind of clarify then what the deadline means? And I want to talk about, like, how does a person enroll in it? How is the option created? And also distinguish, it's more like I don't know if it's fair to compare it to like a personal savings plan, because the business is actually not contributing to it.
Right.
It's me as an employee of a business deciding I want a portion of my income to go into it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good nuance to point out, Dave. So the way it works is an employer would need to sign up for it and offer it to their employees, and at that point the employees can enroll and participate, but there's no contributions coming from the employer to the employee. It's all kind of payroll deduction oriented, so it's self-directed in that from that standpoint.
And it's basically like what you would do on your own, a Roth IRA on your own, where you would contribute your money to it.
So my employer says, okay, we're doing the Illinois Secure Choice Program. What would their next step be? And what about the amount they contribute? Minimum, maximum, how does that work as well?
Yeah, as Liz mentioned, it's structured like a Roth IRA, so the contribution limitations that would be in place for a regular Roth IRA are in place within the context of this plan. So I think before the how-tos of enrolling, it is important to just point out that there are, certain characteristics of the plan that may or may not fit. So one of the advantages of this is, everyone can sign up for it in a sense, but it may not fit the business because it's only a Roth IRA. So if there's a employer that's looking for any sort of tax deductions, this plan won't provide that for them. And that can be important to some employees.
Okay, now that kind of brings it to the next question I was going to ask. Like, why should a person, or what factors would be a better way to put it, what factors should a person considering, like, yes, I want to enroll in this, or no, this is not something for me? So obviously if they're looking for a tax deduction, no.
Right.
What other factors would influence a decision to enroll in it?
Yeah, do you want to jump in?
So we have to look at that from an employer standpoint and
Okay.
also from an employee standpoint, I think. So from an employer standpoint, this is basically very limited tax benefit for the employer. This is to check a box that they've completed this so that they don't get fined by the Illinois government. And all they have to do is enroll their employees and set up the payroll change, okay?
They have the option available because
Right,
their employees
exactly.
may choose not to.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. But to consider kind of a holistic financial planning for the business, to look at other options is an idea for tax benefits.
Okay. Now, what about for me specifically as an employee of that business? What are the benefits or the risks that I should be evaluating to say that, yes, I want to, put a portion of my income into this plan?
Obviously, the benefits are you're saving for retirement. I mean, that's the whole point of the legislation, is that there's statistics out there that individuals are not saving enough for retirement. I think I read 37% of Americans do not feel like they have enough money saved for retirement. So that's significant. So for these small businesses to give the option to their employees to be able to save and put money away for retirement, that's a huge benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would just piggyback off of what Liz said. I mean, we're dealing with 40-year high inflation, and just from working with the general public, I mean, there's a level of procrastination that we all combat when we're talking about the immediacy of spending that's right in front of us versus saving for the future. And as you know, Dave, you go back a generation or two and there were a lot of pension plans available, and as it's gone more in the self-direct route, the reality is a lot of people are a little bit behind on saving for the future. So this is a nice way to have an additional offering for people, but what I would emphasize is this is pretty much a one-size-fits-all solution that's just being offered to the entire state, and each business has their own unique tax considerations. And in my experience, sitting down with a business owner to understand, what is the business owner's most efficient way of saving taxes for their personal situation, and how can that get packaged with a retirement plan. Maybe this plan does that for them, maybe it doesn't. So that's what I would emphasize, is the importance of having some forethought and discussion about what makes sense.
And the same thing for the individual. Each individual has unique tax consequences, and so this may or may not be the best solution for them.
That was going to be kind of my next question. So let's say I work for a small business and I do want to, I want to get some money put aside. I'm looking at a variety of options. I mean, there's risk in all this type of thing. And I'm thinking about, I feel like when I've talked to a financial advisor before, they'll characterize investment levels as like a high, medium, or low risk level. I mean, can you talk about where does this fit into that category, would you say?
So the actual plan has a variety of different investment options.
So I'll be able to choose what risk level I want to.
They will automatically enroll you into a target date retirement plan. You can go in and change that to adjust for your risk level. And there's a couple of options, but
yeah, it has some options, but they're generally more limited than what would be available in a 401k. So for instance, if you wanted a growth fund, you really just have one fund to pick from. So there's some limitations there. Oftentimes with this type of plan, you won't necessarily have someone to help partner with you on the selection of the risk level, and so you're it's more of a self-direct model, so you have to make your own choices with them.
I got you. So I kind of want to, I want to walk through the process. My employer has to have some type of program, if they're in the 5 or to 15 category or larger, something in place by November 1st, correct?
Yeah, correct.
All right, so let's pretend I'm a person at that that place of work, and I do want to do something. What will be the next step for me? Like, what does the process look like to enroll? And me, what will my experience look like?
Yeah, I would. It basically comes down to the employer. They need to register their business with Illinois Secure Choice if they want to opt for this option. So they would go to the website and register. And then at that point, they could offer it to their employees once it's registered, and whoever signs on to it, they would simply, enroll them online and then set them up on the payroll side.
Okay.
So it's pretty straightforward.
it would come directly out of their paycheck and go to the Illinois Secure
So I would go.
Choice.
So once they sign up for this, I would go to that website and I would navigate that basically on my own, and I would kind of pick and choose the dollar amount into which funds. It sounds like, is that accurate?
It would automatically enroll you into a target date retirement fund. So you would not have to choose that. If you would like to change it, then you can change it.
Okay.
They also automatically put you at 5% of your income. You would
Okay.
be
That's how much
contributing
you're-
5% of
All
your
right,
income.
I can't go more than that, or I can go.
You can then go and choose to either
Okay.
go more or less,
Okay.
but that's in your hands as an
Okay.
employee.
All right.
Your
All right.
employer's not helping with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, I'm thinking at that point a person might want to, I'm going to guess that the website is going to have some information, like if I'm trying to make decisions, I'm not quite sure how much I want to save or how much I need. Is that part of what they'll help me navigate? Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
the website, it's limited in nature, so it's basically, it's a one-size-fits-all solution that'll avoid, penalties from the state. But
Okay.
there's not going to be a lot of engagement or
Okay.
assistance.
Direction.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I feel like I can do, hey, I could do $50 a check or $100 a check or whatever, then whatever the percentage is.
Right.
I'll have that freedom to do
Right.
that, and they'll send me into a fund.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any other advice or guidance on what people should look for or expect when considering this type of program? And I'm talking about the actual person investing.
Right. There will be some asset-based fees. So it's a 0.75% fee on what you have in the plan. Okay.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and I would just, one thing to add is, again, from a limitation perspective, this plan doesn't offer any matching from the employer. So from the vantage point of the employee, it's an avenue for you to save, but you're not getting any help from your employer, essentially, it's all on you.
Yeah. I can understand the definite advantage if I'm in a small business and I want to set aside, something that I'm assuming is going to do much better than a typical savings account at a regular bank, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So here's a way towards planning something and maybe developing that habit of
Putting money away.
putting money away,
Yes.
and I'm going to live without it, planning for the future. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, Liz, Jake, thank you very much. It's definitely very, very interesting, but thank you for kind of clarifying how this works and who it applies to, and what's now available.
Yeah. No, thank
Absolutely.
you, Dave.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.
I'm Dave Wurzel, and you've been watching Spotlight. Today's Spotlight has been on the Illinois Secure Choice, a retirement savings program that's being phased, its final phase in, November 1st of this year. Thank you for watching.